When the war reached its breaking point and the Allied bombers began to reduce Germany's cities to rubble, the Nazi regime turned its eyes downward, quite literally. Hidden beneath the hills, mountains, and forests of Central Europe, a new world began to form. Engineers, soldiers, and forced laborers were ordered to dig deep into the ground, carving vast tunnels, chambers, and halls where the Reich's most secret projects would live and work in the shadows. It began with desperation. The skies above Germany were no longer safe. Industrial hubs like Hamburg, Dresden, and Essen burned nightly under waves of Allied air raids. Hitler's war machine, once unstoppable, was now crippled by fire and smoke. To survive, the Nazi leadership sought a way to hide its factories, laboratories, and command centers underground. Thus, the concept of an unterirdische Stadt, the underground city, was born. In the heart of the mountains, deep in regions like Thuringia and Lower Silesia, massive excavation projects began. Entire mountainsides were hollowed out, supported by concrete arches and steel beams. Some of these locations, like the Riese Complex in the Owl Mountains of Poland, remain among the largest and most mysterious construction projects in history. Workers toiled day and night in brutal conditions, carving tunnels large enough for trains, tanks, and entire production lines. Thousands of laborers, mostly prisoners of war and concentration camp inmates, were forced to dig with bare hands and crude tools. Many never saw the sunlight again. The air inside was filled with dust, sweat, and the smell of dynamite. For the Nazi high command, human lives were expendable. Only progress mattered. By 1944, as the Allies advanced and Germany's defeat loomed, these underground facilities became more ambitious. Some were designed to house secret aircraft assembly lines, including prototypes for jet fighters and long-range missiles. Others were meant for chemical research, radar production, or even secret command bunkers for the top Nazi leadership. According to post-war reports, parts of these complexes were wired with communication systems, power generators, and even small rail networks connecting different tunnels. Historians still debate the true purpose of some of these underground networks, whether they were for weapons production, safe havens for leaders, or something far more secret. When the war finally ended in 1945, Allied forces discovered these underground worlds by accident. Soldiers entering the forests of Thuringia stumbled upon massive concrete entrances leading into the mountains. Inside, they found machinery, incomplete tunnels, and eerie silence. Many of these tunnels were flooded or sealed shortly after the war. What remains today are only fragments, long, cold corridors disappearing into darkness with rusted tracks and forgotten tools left behind. Some tunnels stretch for miles, and no one truly knows what lies at their deepest points. Even decades later, researchers and explorers continue to uncover hidden chambers, underground bunkers, and relics of that lost world. The underground cities symbolized more than military strategy. They represented the last phase of the Third Reich's ambition to create an empire so powerful that even the destruction raining from the skies could not reach it. But like many Nazi dreams, it was built on suffering and illusion. The more Germany dug, the deeper it sank into madness. And as the war came to an end, those tunnels became tombs of a dying ideology. The underground cities were supposed to protect the Reich, but instead they became monuments to its downfall. Even now, locals near those mountain regions speak of sealed entrances, strange sounds from beneath the earth, and tunnels that appear and disappear with time. Whether myth or memory, one thing remains clear. Under the soil of Central Europe, the ghosts of a secret world still wait in silence. As the Allied bombing intensified, the German High Command accelerated its underground ambitions. What had started as a desperate relocation of factories now grew into a network of secret fortresses beneath the mountains. Orders came directly from Berlin. Materials, manpower, and machinery were to be moved underground, no matter the cost. In 1944, deep in the Owl Mountains of what is now southwestern Poland, work on the Riese Complex reached its peak. It was not one single site, but 7 sprawling underground systems spread across the mountains, codenamed Rzeczka, Osowka, Włodarz, Jugowice, Sokolec, Sobon, and Gontowa. Each site was carved into stone with unbelievable effort. Some tunnels were high enough to fit 2-story buildings inside. Concrete poured endlessly. Steel beams arrived on military trucks day and night. The roar of drilling and explosions echoed across the valleys, shaking nearby villages. Prisoners, mostly from the Gross-Rosen concentration camp, were forced to work in terrible conditions. Many froze or suffocated underground, their bodies buried within the tunnels they helped create. But what was being built down there? No one truly knew. Even German soldiers guarding the sites had limited access. Some tunnels had massive halls with reinforced walls, suggesting they were meant for heavy machinery or weapons assembly. Others resembled command centers or living quarters. There were whispers among workers that the complex would become Hitler's final headquarters, the Alpine Fortress from which he would continue the war when Berlin fell. As the Soviets closed in from the east, construction became frantic. Supplies ran low, yet the digging continued. Nazi engineers sketched plans for ventilation systems, elevators, and underground railways linking different sites. Trucks disappeared into tunnels loaded with crates marked Geheim, secret. What they carried remains a mystery. The Allied forces were aware that Germany was moving production underground, but they underestimated the scale. When reconnaissance planes captured faint outlines of strange mountainside openings, intelligence officers dismissed them as mines or storage depots. It wasn't until 1945, when Soviet troops advanced into the region, that the true extent of these operations began to surface. Inside some tunnels, the Soviets found remnants of electrical wiring, unfinished chambers, and strange machinery. There were rumors, unconfirmed but persistent, that experimental weapons or prototype aircraft had been hidden there. Documents discovered later in Berlin hinted that the Riese complex was linked to Project Riese, a code name translating simply to Project Giant. It was to be a massive underground headquarters for the Nazi regime, complete with offices, communication centers, and bomb-proof shelters. But Hitler never reached his underground fortress. The project was never completed. The Allied forces moved too fast, the Reich collapsed too soon, and the tunnels were abandoned before their purpose could be fulfilled. After the war, many of these sites were looted, flooded, or sealed by Soviet authorities. The mystery deepened. Over the decades, explorers and historians have ventured into the remains. Some found rusted construction tools, rail tracks, and collapsed shafts. Others discovered hidden rooms filled with debris, and in rare cases, objects left untouched since 1945. The deeper one goes, the colder and more silent it becomes, as if the mountain itself remembers the pain that built it. There are stories from local villagers who recall strange convoys during the final days of the war, trucks moving at night, guarded heavily, driving toward the mountains and never returning. Some believe they carried gold, art, or archives. Others whisper about more sinister cargo, the remains of secret experiments that were never meant to be found. Today, the tunnels of the Riese complex stand as haunting reminders of both human ingenuity and cruelty. Some are open as museums, others remain sealed, too dangerous to explore. The air inside feels ancient, carrying the echoes of machines that once hummed in darkness. Every year, explorers bring new tools, scanners, drones, and cameras, hoping to map what lies beyond the collapsed walls. Yet, even with all our technology, the mountain still hides its secrets well. Perhaps it's better that way, because the deeper you go into those tunnels, the more it feels like stepping into another world, one built from fear, ambition, and madness. By late 1944, as the Reich began to crumble, the underground projects grew even darker in purpose. What had begun as a desperate industrial relocation now morphed into a labyrinth of secrecy. German scientists, engineers, and SS officers arrived at these hidden sites under heavy security. Entire trainloads of equipment vanished into the tunnels and were never seen again. In the records that survived, there are mentions of special materials and classified experiments conducted deep beneath the mountains. Some historians believe these referred to advanced aircraft designs, jet engines, rockets, or even early guided weapons. Others suspect chemical research or communications technology far ahead of its time. One particular name appears in scattered documents, Project Kronos. Its exact purpose is unknown, but some post-war intelligence reports suggest it involved high-energy experiments linked to propulsion systems. The Allied scientific community, after the war, expressed surprise at the technological level Germany had achieved. Jet fighters, ballistic missiles, even early stealth prototypes. Could some of these have been developed in the depths of the Riese complex? Whatever was happening there, it was far from ordinary. Witnesses who later came forward, mostly locals or surviving laborers, spoke of heavy trucks arriving with sealed containers and guards who forbade anyone from approaching. The entrances were watched day and night. Workers were assigned to small sections and had no idea what the full structure looked like. The entire complex operated like a maze of secrets within secrets. As the war reached its end, the construction pace slowed but never stopped. Hitler's inner circle believed that a miracle weapon, a Wunderwaffe, would turn the tide. Underground facilities were considered safe from bombing, giving scientists time to continue their work. In some reports, the Riese complex was linked with other hidden sites, including Peenemünde and Mittelwerk, where Germany's rocket and jet programs were born. The Mittelwerk site, for instance, produced the WW2 rockets that struck London and Antwerp. It was also underground, carved into a mountain at Nordhausen, where thousands of prisoners died building tunnels. The Riese complex may have been meant to expand this concept, a vast underground empire of production where science and war fused in secrecy. But when Allied troops approached, the Germans began to destroy evidence. Explosives were set, documents burned, and entrances sealed. In some tunnels, large steel doors were locked and buried under rock. When Soviet soldiers arrived weeks later, they found only fragments, empty halls, abandoned cranes, and thick dust. It was as if the life inside had vanished overnight. After 1945, the Soviets took control of most of these regions. They sent teams to inspect the tunnels, but found little of value. Some speculate they removed anything useful in secret, while others believe the most advanced technology had already been evacuated to other locations before the end. Then came the Cold War, and the mountains fell silent again. Officially, the Riese complex was declared a construction failure, an incomplete bunker network. But unofficially, researchers and treasure hunters continued to search. Some claimed to find traces of uranium or rare metals in the walls. Others discovered unusual concrete compositions as if designed to resist radiation or extreme pressure. In the 1960s, Polish and German explorers began mapping the surviving tunnels. They found evidence of narrow-gauge rail lines, ventilation shafts, and what appeared to be communication cables still embedded in rock. One tunnel led to a vast hall, 50 meters long and 10 meters high, its purpose unknown. Some believe it was meant to house entire aircraft prototypes. Over time, the story of the underground city blurred into legend. Books and documentaries described it as a ghost project, a symbol of Nazi ambition gone mad. Conspiracy theories emerged, claiming hidden chambers still contained lost technology or stolen treasures. Although most of these claims lack proof, the fascination remains strong. The idea that something extraordinary might still be buried under those mountains continues to draw people from around the world. Every explorer who enters the tunnels feels the same mix of awe and unease, the weight of history pressing down, the sense that they are walking through a place that was never meant to be seen again. The silence underground is overwhelming. No wind, no birds, no sound, but your own heartbeat echoing against the stone walls. It's as if the mountain itself guards what's left behind. And maybe it does. Because the deeper you go, the more it feels like the tunnels are alive, watching, remembering, waiting for something that was never finished. When the war finally ended in 1945, the underground empire of the Third Reich lay in ruins, unfinished, flooded, and abandoned. The grand dream of building a hidden civilization beneath Europe had died along with the regime that conceived it. Yet, even in defeat, the mystery of those tunnels refused to fade away. In the months that followed, Allied investigators scoured the ruins of Germany, searching for evidence of secret technology. Among their discoveries were maps and documents hinting at enormous underground structures scattered across Silesia, Thuringia, and Bavaria. Most of them were incomplete, but the scale was staggering. The Allies realized how close Germany had come to moving its entire industrial core underground, a strategy that, if completed, might have prolonged the war by years. The Riese Complex, however, remained an enigma. Soviet troops sealed off large portions, while American and British intelligence collected what they could. Scientists from Operation Paperclip, the Allied effort to capture German researchers, interviewed surviving engineers, but none could fully explain the project's scope. Some claimed it was meant for Hitler's final headquarters. Others said it was to house advanced weapons laboratories or even underground cities designed to preserve German civilization through years of bombardment. The truth was likely a mix of all three. In the decades after the war, the tunnels became a magnet for curiosity. Locals told stories of hidden trains, lost treasures, and secret rooms filled with crates of unknown content. During the Cold War, the Polish and Soviet governments restricted access to many of these areas, fueling speculation that something valuable still remained below. Treasure hunters risked their lives exploring collapsed shafts. Some vanished entirely. Others returned with fragments of metal, pieces of machinery, or photographs of enormous caverns untouched since 1945. In the 1970s, a team discovered a sealed tunnel behind a concrete wall. Inside were remnants of equipment stamped with the eagle insignia of the Third Reich. But before the exploration could continue, the tunnel was flooded and sealed again by local authorities. Each new discovery only deepened the mystery. Were the tunnels simply abandoned fortifications? Or had they been part of something much greater, perhaps a final desperate attempt to build a self-sustaining underground world for the Reich's survival? In the modern day, historians and scientists continue to debate. Ground-penetrating radar and digital mapping have revealed that the Riese complex may be even larger than anyone thought, with entire sections still buried or inaccessible. Some of the deepest chambers remain unexplored, blocked by cave-ins or water. The mountain seems determined to keep its secrets. Yet, the human imagination cannot let go. In documentaries and films, the idea of the underground city has become a symbol of obsession, ambition, and the extremes of human engineering. It shows how far a regime was willing to go to escape defeat. It also serves as a haunting reminder of the suffering that built it. Every wall in those tunnels was shaped by hands that bled, by lives that ended in silence. Modern visitors who walk through the preserved sections of the Riese tunnels describe a feeling of timelessness. The air is cold, thick, and ancient. Drops of water fall from the ceiling, echoing endlessly. The tunnels seem alive, like veins running through the mountain, pulsing faintly with the ghosts of the past. There are still places marked off-limits. Some entrances are guarded or collapsed. In these areas, it's said that sensors detect radiation or strange magnetic fields. No one knows why. Maybe it's just natural rock formations. Maybe it's something left behind. Even now, researchers continue to find small artifacts, tools, uniforms, fragments of machinery buried in the dust. Each discovery raises the same questions. What was really happening down there? How close did Germany come to creating an underground civilization, and how much of it still lies hidden beneath the soil of Europe? Perhaps the answers will never be known, because in the end, the underground city of the Reich was not just a physical structure. It was a reflection of the regime's belief that it could control even nature itself. It was a world built on fear, ambition, and the illusion of immortality. And as history has shown, no empire, no matter how deeply it buries itself, can hide forever. Today, when visitors stand at the entrances of those tunnels looking into the dark, they are not just seeing rock and concrete. They are staring into the past, into a dream that became a nightmare, and into the echo of a world that tried to survive beneath the earth. The mountain remains silent, but it remembers everything.